Hi. We will start in easy pose. Have two blankets and two blocks. You may or may not need all of the things that I cue, but just to have them handy might be more efficient. So make yourself comfortable. If Sukhasana is not comfortable, find something else that is comfortable for today, as long as you find some grounding in your seat and a long spine. Just let your hands rest on your knees, palms down or up. Let your eyes close. And start to allow your day to fall away, everything that led up to now. And then anything that's to come after you leave your mat, let that fall away too. I'm beginning to arrive here and now. Feeling into the sides of your feet, into your sitting bones, growing tall. Feeling anything that can soften. I'm beginning to watch your breath. As it moves in through your nose, down the back of your throat, and into your lungs. Two more rounds of breath. And let your eyes open. So we'll come into fire log, and oftentimes I will say that if having foot on top of the opposite knee is just, too much, and your knee is quite high, I will often say put shins parallel. But for today, since this is a hip focus, let's just check it out and see what it's like to have foot on top of knee, and we'll use the blankets and blocks to really support that. So let's start with right ankle over left knee. And as you can see, I'll need support under my left knee. I'll need like a truck or something to drive under my right side. So support it in as well as you can. Really kind of tuck blankets and blocks way up underneath, so that there's no part of you that's dangling. Let your hands come behind you, and if you have both blocks, you can put your blocks behind you. I'll go ahead and do that. Press into your hands, lift your chest. So as I lift my chest, my left knee goes down and it doesn't need that much support. But thinking about sending your pelvis into more of a neutral place rather than kind of roll back on your sitting bones. Coming right on the sitting bones and lifting the chest, pressing into the hands. And then your right side seat may not be as heavy as your left. So as you stay tall, start to just in the tiniest little motions, tip forward. And I mean, it's small, tiny, tiny. And each new place you arrive, let your breath settle there before you continue. And then if it doesn't settle, stay where you are. Find one more full round of breath, a nice big inhale and an exhale. Rock back onto your sitting bones. Take your props away. Send your feet out in front of you. Take a big inhale breath. And on your exhale, a nice long spine, fold forward. Let your hands fall wherever they fall. So shins, floor next to your legs, peace fingers around your toes, hands on your ankles, wherever that may be, with a nice long spine. Inhale, send your heart forward. Exhale, soften. So it's early on. So you may be up pretty high. Totally fine. There's no end goal here. Just finding some length in the back of the legs. One more exhale. Coming back upright and then sliding the right heel in so that the shin is parallel to the side or end of your mat. And then setting up with left ankle over right knee. So same deal. Get what you need to support this side. And yours might not look anything like mine at all. And then once you feel supported, maybe that bottom knee doesn't need the block because as you tip forward, maybe your knee will come down too. If you find that you want that support, slide a block underneath. Put your hands behind you, either press into the floor or into your blocks. Lift your chest. Send your belly button forward. So finding that pelvic tilt from a posterior tilt where you're kind of sitting back on the sitting bones to a more of an upright position. And then again, right side might be heavier than left. And once you've kind of established that base, staying tall, starting to make the shift forward, stopping to breathe and settle in each new space. Or if you've reached a place where you're totally content to stay, do that. One more breath. Lean yourself back. Use your hand to take the left leg off. Slide your pull-ups out of your way, and you can move your blocks over toward the one end of your mat. Stack them on top of one another. Send your feet out in front of you again. In staff pose, inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. So you may notice already that there is a little more length in the back of the legs. You may already be coming a little lower. Or maybe the sensation is less intense in the back of the legs. Yay, yoga. One more exhale. And back up we come. So slide everything out of the way. Bring your hands behind you, kind of leaning back onto hands. And bring your feet flat on the mat, nice and wide here. And start with a little windshield wiper. They can be small and slow at first. Just kind of checking out what is going on, how that even feels for hips and back. I'm starting to increase the spectrum here, increase the range of motion, and kind of rolling up onto each hip, letting that internally rotated leg fall a little more. So continuing with that. And then the next time your knees fall to the right, let them stay. And press into your hands, lift your chest. Maybe start to sneak your left foot over to the left a little bit more. And on your next exhale, let your left side seat get a little heavier. So left knee might kind of pop up off of the mat. Just let it do that. And I don't know, the way that I find that I can let my seat be heavier, I kind of take some of the tension out of the spine and not really slouch, but kind of instead of lifting the chest up, letting everything kind of sink down. Just finding another breath here. And then if you did walk your foot to the left, walk it back towards center, and then extra slowly come back up to center. Maybe just do a little wiggle back and forth. And let your knees fall to the left. Maybe scooching the right foot to the right a little bit, sitting up nice and tall, lifting the chest. And once you kind of get the shape that you want to be in, exhale, let things soften in the torso. And the sensation might be totally different on this side. Just kind of allowing things to let go all around, and notice what you're up to in your left hip too. Are you kind of finding some resistance there? And can you soften down there too? And one more breath. Start to walk the right foot toward the center. Slowly, slowly come back up to the middle. And then we'll come into Z-sit. This dog, I tell you, it's a good thing I do yoga. Okay, so let's give the right hip a little bit of a break since we're just focusing there. So let's bring the left foot behind. So your right shin is gonna line up with the end or the side of your mat. And then you'll sneak your left foot back so that your left knee and hip are in line with one another, and then your left foot and left knee are in line. So we find, as much as we are able, a 90-degree angle in every place that is possible. Maybe even your feet too. I don't know, check that out. I don't pay a lot of attention to my feet in this posture, but I don't know, it might make a difference to you. So kind of lean into your right hand. Left hand comes to left hip. Send your left hip point way forward, kind of rolling onto your right hip. And then left side seat comes down. So right knee might kind of pop up. Let it do that. Just let it do whatever it wants. And send it forward on your inhale. Back and down on your exhale. And back and forth. Really slowly. So these are just kind of all a little exploration, just to see what's going on in there today, and to see if there's any more movement to be found without force. Next time your seat is down, just kind of leave it down. And then again, just like we did in the windshield wipers, just kind of let your belly be heavy. Kind of, again, not slouching or sagging, but allowing some heaviness to come in here. Roll up onto your right hip, really sending your left hip forward and finding a little tilt forward here. You might not get like a giant sensation since we're leaned over to the right. Come back into neutral. Carefully drag that left leg forward and switch sides. So left shin parallel, left knee out to the side, or I'm sorry, right knee out to the side. Right shin, foot and knee at a 90-degree angle or in line with one another. Kind of leaning into your left hand, right hip and hand together. Send your right hip forward and back and down. And if there's a place that seems interesting to you, or a place where there's like a little hitch it might be worth sticking around that area and just checking it out. Or it might be worth skipping that area. If it's kind of hard to tell, I think, which thing to do. But generally speaking, if there's a sharpness or like a zinginess, move through with caution. And if it is more of a muscular sensation, that's safer to explore. But if there's ever any like whoop sharpness, get out of there. And let your right side seat be heavy. Let your exhales be long. And shift forward, right hip comes forward, a little lean into the left side. Then moving that right knee forward, come into Baddha Konasana, so bound angle, just for a breath or two, bottoms of the feet together, or the pinky toe edge of the feet together. The rest of the soles kind of falling away from each other. Sit up tall. And exhale. So we move into tabletop. And let's make knees pretty wide. On your exhale, round the spine, chin tucked, tail tucked, big cat. Belly comes down, chin comes up, seat lifts up. On your next exhale, come into your cat and back into child's pose. So moving through that a couple of times. On your inhale, come right into cow. So belly drops, chin lifts. Exhale, round and tuck back into child's pose. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat in child's pose. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Stay in child's pose for one full breath. Come back up into your tabletop, and we'll come into a lunge with the right foot toward the right edge of the mat. So come up into tabletop and have your blocks right in the center of your mat. You can come into your lunge from tabletop or from down dog or from kneeling. However you want to manage that. Step your right foot forward. Blocks right on the inside of the foot and both hands on the blocks. And at first, sitting up tall, letting the weight come into the left side, the left hip flexors. And starting to back off of that a little bit, Shifting forward and back, just in kind of a smallish range of motion here. Just kind of pressing forward, lifting up and back, taking the pressure off of the left hip. Slowly starting to make that bigger. So that when hips come back, the leg starts to come straight and the toes lift up. As low as you want to go on the left side, and as straight as you want to go on the right. When your hips are back and your toes are lifted and the leg is as straight as it's going to get for today, lift your tail toward the ceiling. And it may not actually even be visible, but I'm pretty sure you will feel it. Shifting forward into your lunge. Couple different things. First, let your knee fall out to the side. So you kind of come up onto that pinky toe edge of the right foot, supporting yourself with your hands. Noticing what's happening now on the inside of the right thigh. Plant your foot again, back your hips off a little bit so you're not just hanging out in that left hip joint. Right hand comes to the top of the knee, find a twist. Looking over your right shoulder, using the right hand sort of as leverage for your twist. Exhale, return to center. Back the hips off even more so you're kind of standing, kneeling on your left knee. Slide your right foot back a little bit so you can get a little bit of a foundation. Turn your left toes under. Step forward into a wide leg forward fold. So you can leave the blocks where they are and let your hands come down on either side. And just notice the difference here between right and left hips since we haven't done a lunge on the other side. Let's see what's different. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, hips come down into Malasana, so into Yogi Squat. And you can do this on your blocks, or one block, or none blocks. Heels can be up, heels can be down. Inhale, back into forward fold. Exhale, Malasana. So feet might move around quite a bit here. When you come into your forward fold, toes might turn forward, and then when you come down, toes might turn out. Inhale, forward fold. Plant your hands on your blocks. Narrow your stance just a little bit. Left foot is right in line with the blocks. Step your right foot back, low lunge. And at first, sit up tall. Just see what that right side has to say. And exhale, hips come a little bit back and forward. It's kind of a small range of motion here. starting to make that range bigger, coming into kind of a deepish left side lunge, and then a half Hanuman with toes lifted, straight left leg, moving back and forth between the two. Moving with your breath, maybe exhaling on the way back, inhaling on the way forward. The next time you are back, lift the toes, lift the tail. You might have to shimmy your blocks back a little bit. So finding length in the spine. So even if, not even worrying about what your tailbone is up to, thinking about lifting your heart kind of does the same thing. Shift forward. Let your knee fall out to the side, coming up onto the left blade of the left foot. And plant the foot down. Right hand comes to the block, left hand comes to the knee. Find your twist. Come back into center and into, let's just come to seated on the heels, just to transition a little bit here. So take your blocks over to the left side of your mat. Interlace fingers, just give your wrists a little bit of love here. Rolling them around, maybe in a figure eight. However you find relief here. And come to tabletop. So your blocks are lined up with your left knee, let's say. And far enough away from you so that if you lift your knee out to the side, you won't run into them. Pull your your left knee in toward your chest and send your left leg out to the side, up and over those blocks, and step the left foot back. Find a little calf stretch. And then we'll come back the same way. So the knee comes out to the side, we clear those blocks, pull the left knee into the chest, come back into tabletop. So we'll do that 2 more times. So you may have some adjusting to do with your blocks now that you know what we're up to. Left knee comes to the chest. Jump over the blocks, send the left foot back, find a little calf stretch. Out to the left, coming forward over the blocks, to the chest, and to tabletop. And 1 more time, chest, out to the side, over the blocks, long left leg, toes plant, calf stretch. Up and over, and back to tabletop. Let your knees come wide, your big toes come together, come into child's pose. Maybe let your forehead rest on your hands or arms overhead, or if it feels nice to have arms down by your sides and shoulders rolling forward, do that. letting your breath come long and easy. And come up into your tabletop. Move your blocks over to the right. Find your tabletop. Pull your right knee into your chest. Come up and over the blocks. Right foot reaches back. Ball of the foot plants. Heel comes back for a stretch. Bring the knee out to the side, up and over to the chest, and back to tabletop. And 2 more times. Up toward your chest, out to the side, over the blocks. Plant the toes, send the heel back. And coming forward, out to the side, up and over, and down. 1 more. To the chest, to the side, to the back. Ball the foot down, heel back. And up and over. Let your knees come wide, toes together, and into child's pose. Just briefly this time, 2 full breaths. Come up onto hands and knees. Come into your down dog. Take an inhale breath. And exhale. Step your left foot forward between your thumbs and walk your hands over to your blocks. So we'll let your feet do whatever they want to do. They might start out being parallel with one another, and then eventually toes might turn away from each other as we start to move. The hands on the blocks. Take a big inhale breath. Come into what feels like a cow to you. So belly drops, tail lifts, chin lifts. Notice what's happening in the inner thigh and the hamstrings here. On your exhale, shift your weight over to the left side lunge. So feet might need to be, adjust the width here. The exhaling down into Skandasana, or your version of Skandasana for the day. Lifting the right toes if that's available to you. Inhale up into center. Exhale, right side. And moving back and forth between the two. So it doesn't actually matter at all whether you're coming all the way down with your seat on your heel. The aim is to get into the inner thigh. So if you are in the inner thigh and your hips are high, that is totally fine. In fact, let's do that. So come to the right. Just bend the right knee just a little bit and then come into that cow. And you may notice that you get this same or real similar stretch as if you are trying to come all the way down. It just kind of takes the joints out of it a little bit. Shift over to the left and do the same. So slight bend in the knee, lift the tail, drop the belly, lift the chin. And come back into center. Now you can let your feet be parallel with one another. Exhale, fold into wide leg forward fold. Prasarita Padottanasana. And come up halfway. You can leave your blocks where they are. Walk your hands toward your left foot. Come down onto your right knee. And then come down to your back any way you see fit. Maybe coming back to tabletop. Maybe swinging that right leg forward. But come to seated. And you'll be able to, we're going to either use 1 or 2 blocks. And it's going to be entirely up to you. First, we'll come into bridge. So roll yourself down onto your back. And with 1 or 2 blocks or 1 block on its side, I guess they're all on their sides, but standing up a little higher. However you want to do that. Press into your feet, lift your hips, slide whichever formation of the blocks under your sacrum as you wish. And we'll just hang out here for a second. Really focusing on your exhales here. And specifically the bottom of your exhale. Really letting that linger as long as you can before filling back up with your inhale. And just notice if you can see what's going on in there. At the bottom of the exhale, do you kind of feel like a pull deep in your belly? So we don't always get to slow down enough to really notice anything beyond sort of those surface muscles. But give it enough time, we can kind of work our way through those layers to the depths and give those muscles a chance to release and lengthen and relax. So if you're up on 2 blocks, it may be advisable to lower down to 1, maybe on its like second, like its middle height. But you know what your body is like, so if being up on 2 blocks and starting to extend the legs feels good to you, totally do that. But And if you don't know, drop down first, and then you can decide. So slowly slide the left foot out long, and you might need to adjust your block a little further down to like in the middle of your sacrum. And slide the right leg out long. Send your arms up overhead. And find some length here. Long, slow breaths. Slide both feet back in and pull your right knee into your chest. And then again, you might have to move your block a little bit to accommodate that tilt. Send your left leg out long. And if it was kind of out to the side before, when you had both legs extended, see if you can extend it straight down from your hip. Take a big inhale breath. And an exhale. Pull your left knee in to meet the right. Right leg comes out long, straight from the hip. You can bring your knee in as close to you as you like. Really finding some length on that right side. Lower your left foot down. Slide your right foot in. Press into your feet. Lift your hips. Move your block out of the way. And before we come into Shavasana, roll over onto your belly. I feel incomplete without finding a little bit of stretch in the quads. You might want to strap for this stretch. But come into your Sphinx pose. Palms down, fingers spread wide. Press into your elbows and forearms. Drag your heart forward. Lift your chin. Press into your elbows so shoulders come away from the ears. And then you can slide your right elbow into the center a little bit. Bend your left leg, and either with a strap or with your hand, find your left foot and start to press the left heel down and start to press the left hip down. That could be a lot. And if it's interesting to you, send your left knee down toward the end of the mat. So finding length in that top part. And one more breath. And release. Come onto the left forearm. Bend the right knee, strap or hand around the right foot. Press the heel down toward the seat, press the hip down toward the mat, and send the knee to the end of the mat. One more breath. And release. Bring your arms into crocodile. So just fold it under your forehead. And bend your knees so that feet are coming up toward the ceiling. Find a little windshield wiper here. Come back up and come back onto your back. However you do that, you can just roll yourself over. Let your legs come out long. Let your arms come down by your sides, palms facing up. Eyes closed. Breath comes naturally. Bringing your awareness to your hips and that whole area, top of the thighs, low belly, your rear end, your low back. Noticing if the energy in that area has shifted or been freed a little bit. There seems like some more motion there. Kind of envision like a series of little swirls. Little tiny whirlpools all around that whole area. It's everything getting stirred up and moved around, moved out. Releasing us from stuckness. And clearing the way. And the energy can move from top to bottom unhindered. Or bottom to top. Letting the energy move down toward your feet and up toward your head, toward your hands, all at once. Those whirlpools just clearing out, taking with them anything that you don't need anymore. Just clearing out the debris. Letting it leave with your exhales. A little spring cleaning for the body. Feeling shiny and new. Take one more breath right where you are. Rolling onto your side when you're ready. Find a breath there. Making your way up to seated. Coming into Sukhasana and just seeing if anything feels different there. If you feel there's some more openness or freedom there. Bring your hands to heart center. Find a big inhale breath. And a nice long exhale. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Ooh, that feels good.